So, but that doesn't mean it's not important, and that it's. I think, unlike some Jungians, I think these things also have a historical location in the minds of these ancient priests and scribes. And if you follow my tradition of transpersonal historiography, I think we can retrospectively plug back into that magically. And that's also, we shouldn't forget that the Babylonians gave us certain practices of high magic, which they do in, for instance, the Golden Dawn. A lot of their rituals are based on Babylonian stuff. And there are practicing magicians around still doing the Babylonian magic to this day, especially in London, around the British Museum, which has got lots of Babylonian artifacts. The point is to use it for peace, and the point of Marduk is to bring peace. And the victory that he wants, I don't think the idea of a war, achieving victory through violent war, is the answer. I think the modern day Marduk is a Jain who achieves victory over himself or herself and uses their magical weapons of self-knowledge in the Bond sense. So yeah, we're going through testing times as a planet, and I think Marduk energy is about, definitely. So thank you for that, Noah.
Hi.
Yeah. Let's do your one next.
7 of water.
Okay, the 4 of water, is it?
No, 7.
Oh, 7. Okay. This is a Finnish deity, and an interesting one. Vainamoinen from the Kalevala. Are you familiar with the Kalevala a bit?
Not at all.
No?
Thanks to Uncle Scrooge, a little.
Is he? Does it figure in that?
Hi, in one special, really nice story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of what?
Oh, there is an American comic book writer called Don Rosa, who makes really detailed drawings and stories using the Donald Duck and Scrooge family. And in one of these stories, he visits those legends.
Okay, the Finnish Kalevala legends.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So these are really interesting because they date back to the primordial times of shamanism, and the Finnish people came from that primordial root. And there are still pagan shamans in Finland still practicing this stuff. It was connected by Lönnrot, who was a folklorist in the 19th century, and written down as like a text called the Kalevala. And this deity is one of the heroes of the story. He's an important deity. He's a demigod and the central character of Finnish folklore. And he's the main character in the Kalevala. He was described as an old and wise man. So in the card he has a long beard, like our local monk used to. But he also has a beautiful, potent, magical singing voice. So he can, like a true bard, can sing things into being. We know of him, the first legend reference is in a list of the gods of the Tavastian people by Agricola in 1551, a German Renaissance scholar. And he was known as the god of chants, songs and poetry. So in these primordial times, before Netflix, before electricity, before anything, how they entertained each other in the evenings, the long dark evenings, was through songs that the family and the village would exchange. And everyone had a repertoire of songs that they would sing. And it was magical to go around and listen to them all. When I was a child, I used to go to forest school camps. And I remember sitting around the campfire at night, under the stars, listening to the songs. I mean, they were all folk songs from the 60s, kind of anti-war peace songs. That was my generation. And some were older folk songs from medieval England going back. And that's what people do, and that's what Vainamoinen is the god of. He's the central figure in the birth of the world. So the myth of creation is that in the beginning there were only primal waters and sky. But Sky had a daughter called Ilmatar, And one day Ilmatar descended to the waters and became pregnant. She gestated for a very long time in the waters, wasn't able to give birth. One day, a golden-eye bird, seeking a resting place, flew to the knee of Ilmatar where it laid its eggs. And as the bird incubated her eggs, Ilmatar's knee grew warmer and warmer. Eventually, she was being burned by the heat and moved her leg, dislodging the eggs that then fell from and shattered in the water. And land was formed from the lower part of one of the eggshells. It would make a great movie. I wonder if anyone's done a visual version of the Kalevala. And the sky formed from the top. The egg whites turned into the moon and the stars, and the yolk became the sun. And another version of the same story, an older version, has it as an eagle laying its eggs on the knee of Wainamoinen. So he's also part of that creation story. He's regarded as the eternal bard, and his song exerts order over chaos. And his song created Finland. So I won't share the whole thing. There's a lot of text in this book of the Tarot of the Gods, and if anyone's really interested in this, read it. I got very into the Kalevala over the years. I've known Finnish people. I admire their courage and their spiritual roots as well, because although many of them became Christian, they've also accepted other religions, Buddhist, etc. But also their primal pagan roots are still there, shining away. And of course, as a bard myself and a druid, we like Wainamoinen because he's very similar to the druid bard deities. And the power of song is very important. It's said in the Druid world that Stonehenge was brought to its present resting place from Ireland by song. If you're really good, you can move Stonehenge. That's quite a bard. What does this card mean in our pack? Why have we got it now? I think the world is suffering from disharmony. We have narratives, what I call, we've all heard of this phrase, cognitive dissonance. I've coined a new word, narrative dissonance. We have different stories going on simultaneously, and they're all plausible and they're all semi-true. And they're seeking for narrative dominance, right? I would like to join Wainamoinen and say, let's have a harmony of these voices. Let's create a meta song in which everyone can be an orchestra. And wouldn't it be amazing if I was a musical director to fill the Royal Albert Hall with 168 piece choir, each of whom would do a solo, a song based on their tradition. So the Kantian baritone would do a whole thing on Kant, sort of Bach sounding. The Bond one you'd come in with the singing bowls and do that.
Some of these I fear wouldn't sound so good.
Such as?
Maybe some of the philosophy ones at the bottom.
Like
philosophy and
economics, yeah. You could do Pink Floyd, Money, classic song. I'm sure we could do a musical version of this, and that, to me, would be brilliant. I think we should work on this because only through music, ultimately, will we bring harmony back to the world. I think that would be what Wainamoinen would say. So, if any Finnish musicians out there want to get in touch. And there are Finnish groups, actually, that are doing Kalevala to music. But let's kind of do the meta Kalevala, which is the shamanic traditions of all the planet, and get them all doing their own types of music in a harmony. So I think that's kind of what the card says to me. That's why it's come in here. And he's symbolised by the rainbow. The other thing that I love about him. in the card is wherever a rainbow comes, that's Wainoinen, present. So that's good. Yes, there's a Finnish folk metal band called Ensiferum, who have 3 songs based on Wainoinen, called Old Man, Little Dreamer, and Cold Northland. And so there are Finnish groups working with all this, which is good. Right, thank you. And then we've got Bell, which is the 10 of air, is it? I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Excellent. Bell came up a few weeks ago, but it's nice to welcome him back here. And he's the local deity. So I was talking about the oak tree in the sense it takes us back to Le Chêne, because the people that traditionally would have been gathered here in this part of France would have understood the importance of Bel and worshipped with him, and understood that we. Sorry, can I see the card briefly? Thanks. Right. Okay, there he is. Ah, I see. It's 10 of fire.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought he was. That's why he's not showing up. Right. Excellent. Well, I did think of doing a fire tonight, but it's not quite cold enough in France at the moment. But later on we might have a fire, and then Bel will come in person. So fire was very important to our primal ancestors, our ancient ancestors, and it made it possible for us to survive during the ice ages and the cold winters. So of course it was worshipped and treated as something sacred in all the traditions of the world, Zoroastrianism, but also in the Celtic Druid world. And Bel is the god of fire. Gave his name to Belgium. He was called Belinus or Belenus, and as Belenos, he was a solar god. So Druid priests would have honoured the sun, and they do their rituals in association with the solar calendar, still to this day. He was regarded as the lord of the dead and the lord of the underworld. Also regarded as equivalent to Apollo, and I think there's probably a philological link between Apollo and Bel, probably go back to the same roots. And Apollo was the lord of dance, music, celebration, poetry, and the Delphic Games are important, which I'm involved with. We're trying to revive them and use human creativity for peace instead of destructivity. There's a struggle going on. Freud called it Thanatos versus libido, love versus death, and we've got too much of Thanatos around. We need to get more libido back. And I think Bel's definitely on the side of that, because at Beltane, in the Celtic world of Ireland, is the 1st of May, beginning the evening before, and that's when all the Celtic people that still keep the faith with the ancestors light a big fire outdoors, and that was the time to get married. You would celebrate your magic consort, and you would leap over the fire together, hand in hand, and that's what the card shows, leaping over the fire. And I've done that myself several times, actually. We like Beltane in the Druid world, and yes, I recommend people to leap over the fire at Beltane more often. Unfortunately, in Stonehenge now, we're not allowed to take naked flames in, which is ridiculous. I hope that when we get a decent, intelligent, reforming green government through PR and all that, they might change that rule and let Druids take naked flames in. And then we can do a little bit of leaping over a candle in the middle of Stonehenge.
Right.
In Gaul, he was sometimes also called Abellio, and may have been the god of apple trees. So there are different forms that Bel took. And what I argue in the text is that that's fine, because the gods are energy patterns which take different structures. A bit like in that film Interstellar, they're moments crystallized in time, but they evolve and change and shapeshift. And consciousness is at the root of all of them. And, you know, discuss, is there one God or many? Both and, I would say. And that's what Nagarjuna said in his new form of logic. By the way, just to say, I've written a paper recently called The Logic of Peace, in which I've gone into the history of logic as a discipline, going back to Aristotle and all the Greek philosophers. And I've said we need a new logic. It doesn't exist yet. We need a logic of peace. And I've begun that conversation, trying to create one. What would it look like? And how? Because I think we have all these wars because we don't have a logic of peace. And to me, leaping over the fire with someone you love is part of the logic of peace. It's a symbol of transcendent. I accept the flames, I will get burned, but if I'm careful, we'll leap over them and not get too burned, you know. So there's a lot of wisdom in that tradition, I would say. And thank you, Belle, for being with us and coming to our succour. Well, there we are. There's our gods tonight. Any comments?
Not yet, but nice selection. I appreciate.
Yeah, they're doing well. I think there's 3 get on fine.
Oh, perhaps, yeah. Perhaps you said it, but I'm not sure. On the background here.
Yeah.
Where is it? What is it?
Yes, that's called a ziggurat. So in Babylon, they believed that the gods should be worshipped from up high, and they built these temples with many stairs going up, and archaeologists have discovered these things, and so it's a reconstruction of what a temple of Bel might have looked like. Sorry, of Marduk in the middle of Babylon. They have actually found, archaeologists have discovered traces of these temples, and it's thought it gave the origin to the idea of the myth of the Tower of Babel.
Okay, yeah.
In the Bible. As I said, a lot of the Bible is actually Mesopotamian influence, and that's one. It seems that the ancestors of the people that wrote the Bible down saw this temple being built and didn't quite understand it. They thought they were building a platform to challenge God. I don't think any pagan sage would ever be so audacious as to think that. I think it's a misunderstanding. I think what they were trying to do was, by elevating the sacred place, it's a way of saying, we're maybe closer to the gods. The Babylonian top god was An, A-N, and Marduk was a son of An. And An is the god of the entire universe and all stars and all planets, which is trillions. Marduk is just the god of this world, they said. And what's interesting is that there's a Druid legend that when Phineas Farsaid was passing by the plain of Shinar, he saw this temple being built, and he predicted trouble. He thought that there'd be difficulties, and I think the symbolism here is that if you try and fix God to a building, a place, like a temple, and say this is the top god, this is the chief, then you're getting into politics, and you're creating structures which will lead to conflict, because then you have to defend the temple with armed guards and so on, and people try and steal from it, and they'll try and pinch the statue like the Elamites. So that's the beginning of our wars and all our troubles, and it's a symbol of that. I think that's what the Tower of Babel myth really means. And what's said in the Druid legend is our Druid founder, Phineas Farsaid, saw that coming, predicted trouble, and it would lead to the scattering of tongues. Because before this, everyone spoke the same language of the heart, which is what this film Heart Revolution explains. But afterwards, we all had our own languages and our identities to defend, and our own religions and texts. But Phineas Farsaid founded the first Druid Academy as a language school to retain the knowledge of the primal language of all mankind, which is the universal language of shamanism, going back to number one, when we all spoke one universal heart, wisdom, enlightenment. So, good question.
Hi.
There's
Thank
a lot
you.
of stuff in the drawing there. Yes. May we get back to the... and maybe that's why Israel wants to destroy Gaza. Maybe secretly it knows that we have to get back to the primal emptiness, actually. I mean, I think a lot of people want to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, but I think that'd be a mistake. It'll just cause the cycle to go round again. I think let's just accept the emptiness and learn to worship that in piety, as Rabbi Akiba would ask of us. Yes. Whose wife sent him off to study for 20 years. We like his wife. Yeah. Right, okay, shall we finish there then? I think that's good. Can I finish with a poem? Because we invoked Wainamoinen, and he's also the god of poetry and song. And I'm going to read the first part of a long poem because it's a good one. It's called The Druid Game. Those of you that know me know I like to play the Druid Game from time to time. And this one is interesting. I think I love you. Not quite sure how, like a far-off past, and we came back, like a restatement of an ancient pact made of gold. I think I love you the way a bird feels waking up and sees the first slender shivers of yellow sunlight on the horizon and has to start singing. I'm not sure if I love your mind most, or your spirit, or your body, or hidden secrets. Your voice, the way it sounds like a story trembling out of you, modulating in space sometimes, like a flute or a harpsichord, all at once, or a brook tinkling across stones in the riverbed. Or the words you shape, and the winds they contain, whole and wet and round. As we sit beneath the womb of space, of old Sky Mother Goddess, Nut, watching over us, bringing her children home. Or your seeing, your ability to catch the comets falling, blue and swift from the corner of your eye, your mastery of detail, your capacity to say wonders, or your mind's ability to spill spells and make notes, footnotes, commentaries on the Vedas of being, the vastness of it, our minds hopping together between heavens and earth, bringing messages like quicksilver to explain everything in each part and how it all fits together. And the journey of the Tree Tower was how we both got down here again. But the door was the goddess of incalculable truth, having been working out the mathematics of space and revelation, and how the words reveal and conceal each other all along, as if containing a great ocean beyond mathematics. So, I'm sending you now one part of the 577 paragraphs of all of the high prayers for the goddess of night, Nut's Encyclopedia of Love. And so my mind, like a bird flopping with one wing, found yours beside it briefly. Da, 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 da. There's the beginning of this epic poem. I'll do some more next week, because this is an example of, you know, why I like poetry is to say the unsayable, because you couldn't do this in prose.
That was addressed to someone?
Ooh, ooh, need to know that one. Yes, it was. It was
Very
inspired.
good, very, yeah.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the days. Right. Well, anyway, that's part of the Bond tradition, isn't it? The way of sacred relationship. So I must be a Bond poet deep at heart. I think I probably am. Yeah. Anyway, look. Bless you, and please let's get world peace on the planet. Then we can all have party time and reach enlightenment together and enjoy, and offer prayers of forgiveness to all those who, you know, not quite passed the exam. Time to resit. Give them another go. And yes, we need to up the enlightenment game. That's the point of the Philosophy Club, and may it long, you know, be effective. Okay, thank you.